Good morning, everybody. Dr. Freedom here with you. Uh, yep, Monday is here. That glorious time in time and space when you have to go start your work week all over again, like it's a chronic hysteresis of the soul. Sad note. Just found out that Howard Hessman passed away over the weekend. Now, a lot of people are going, why am I bringing that up? And okay, back when I was coming up with a handle for a channel, I believe this was October 2011 or something like that. It was way back then. One of my inspirations for the name Dr. Freedom was not only the doctor, but Dr. Johnny Fever from WKRP in Cincinnati, who was played by Howard Hessman. So, yeah, it's kind of sad that, Howard Hessman, has left us, but he left, a big legacy. He was one of them actors who just popped up every so often. He wasn't a huge mega star name, but, he was there, doing his bit. So, yeah, Howard Hessman's left us. But okay, the whole division mess. And once again, there's somebody trying to pass on crap in the chat box, and sadly, that's the nature of the beast these days. Bots are everywhere now. It's worse than if Skynet declared the world, a bad place and nuked us. It's like humanity has to go. Are you kidding? Skynet could conquer this planet by making a decent TikTok video. But, okay. Now, one of the things that people are still going on and on and on about, and like I said, I really wished that Flux had nothing to do with. I'm not kidding. I wasn't a huge fan of the whole division thing either. But what they're saying was, and I loved how this one guy, arrogantly put, it was Zibno's attempt to do the CIA thing, but he failed and still failing at it miserably. And I'm like, does reality set in yet that Chibnall and Whitaker are long gone? You see, that's what I love about this. 2 more specials, and I guess they're not getting along well with the BBC representative who must be camped out in their house with an SA-80 pointed at their heads, forcing them to watch, Doctor Who. I'm not kidding. I get that mental image, what do you call it? You're going to get out there and watch Doctor Who. We must confound Jerry at every turn or something. Oh, God, that's a bad producer. I can't do the banter thing. But, it's like nobody's forcing anybody to watch anything they don't want to watch. And of course, they'll pull the infinite, well, I'm so passionate about the show, I just want to see if it got any better. Folks, for you folks who are in the know and you've been watching this channel a long time, I never watched one episode of Starship Dysentery, aka Star Trek Discovery. Because after I saw the first trailer and I saw the way you call it, the lens flares, I knew exactly where they're going with it. And sure enough, and of course, we've just happened to put it 10 years before Kirk and Spock, giving them holographic displays and all this other not malarkey. And yet, I knew exactly what they were going to do by putting it there. I even told a friend of mine, who's tried to convince me to watch said show, and I said, look, I can tell you exactly what they're going to do. They're going to bring in Pike, the original Enterprise, sooner or later. They're going to start rehashing all the stuff that made the original series, stand out. They're going to start going places the Enterprise is going to go in and all that, and they're going to start saying, we did this, we did that. And he's like, you're making this up, okay? And I'm like, watch. And sure enough, within the first season, like I said, he filled me in on all this. I have not watched a single episode of it. They brought in the Mirror Universe 10 years before Kirk and Spock and all that, or Kirk and them went there. Sure enough, the Enterprise shows up at the end of the one season as a big series cliffhanger because the whole thing was swirling down the toilet bowl. And it's like, okay, and then of course you had the whole thing with the tardigrades and all that, in which, if you've seen the court data, they stole the whole damn idea from somebody else. And they got away with it because they're a multi-billion-dollar international company. And that's the only reason why they got away with it. I'm not kidding. People don't, it's like, folks, as to quote Londo from Babylon 5, how much justice can you afford? And that's exactly what happened. But back to the division. Now, what happened was, the way I think of it is that the division was a prelude or a forerunner of the Celestial Intervention Agency, which came later. And what I think he was trying to allude to was, a lot of people, if you look back in your history, the Central Intelligence Agency, which is the equivalent of the Celestial Intervention Agency, here in America, it didn't come into being until 1947 with the National Security Act. And before that, it was known as the Office of Special Services, OSS. And I think that's what he was going for with the division, was it's a forerunner of what was to come later. And it's like, but of course, because somebody else dare touch on Bonnet's evil. But like I said, I didn't get into it, wasn't my bag and all that. Now, a lot of people's like, any Doctor Who news. Okay, to be honest with you, no, not really. That's why I didn't put Doctor Who news on the video. If there was news, the video would say Doctor Who news, okay? So if there's news, that's how you can tell. Okay, division in Doctor Who then. Well, the thing is what a lot of the guys are doing. Yeah, like I said, it's a forerunner. It's not the same thing. Yeah, you got it, Alistair. It's, later on, someone would pick up the idea and do it. It's a forerunner of the Celestial Intervention Agency. It's not the same thing. You're right. That's what I'm getting to. You got it. Boom. You get a gold star, which don't mean jack in this world because the price of gold is falling. Just don't wave it around the Cybermen. They get kind of weird about it. I tried to give... You see what happened when, like the Doctor tried to give, that Cyber leader a gold star? Oh, that's right. That was Adric's bad slip. But, so that's what I'm getting at. Now, the division in Doctor Who, it's bullshit. In the real world, it's a ton of steaming bullshit. I have been going to Chicago TARDIS now the past few years, except for the year they were down for COVID. And I have not heard anybody. Now, he's not going to retcon anything. Whose books? Good question. He's not. I think he's just going to take it over and do what I think they should have done with Flux, and that is just let it all go. Like I said, the one thing that disappointed me was they brought Tech-Tayun back, and I'm like, leave Tech-Tayun as a mystery. Leave that whole thing as being, ambiguous. So this way, the fans, whether they want to pick it up or not, can say, okay, it did this, it did that, all right? And that's one of the reasons why I rated the finale of the Flux series so low. I'm like, there was no need to drag back Tech-Tayun just so you could do a big kill-off scene and do the dramatic, yes, it's all true, just to, tick off the fan guys. It's like, there was no reason for it. Other than to make your story solid written, in stone canon, like it's the 10 Commandments or something. And that really disappointed me. You should have just left it out there, left it vague, and that way, you don't got to worry about it. Yeah, RTD's going to pretty much ignore it, I think. I think he's already got his own ideas as to where he's going to go. And I think, but like I said, yeah, I didn't agree with that last bit of Flux. I didn't. Okay, now, all right, you're right. Thank you for bringing that up because I had actually forgotten it this morning. All right, a lot of fans are going on and on about this quote-unquote regeneration thing outside the TARDIS, and that's because one of the guys came forward in an interview and said, and that's why I die laughing when you got all these articles saying Jodie's getting snubbed. a regeneration because of low ratings. Well, obviously you don't know what the hell you're talking about, because they already filmed it. They filmed it the last day of filming, October 13th. It's already, done on video in the can and ready to put out there. And what I think they're doing is, he brought up the fact that when they went to film the regeneration scene, they left the TARDIS set for the last time. Guys, did anyone think that, remember when they had that scene in the one during Flux when they all ran out, or was it New Year's? So it was one of those. Sorry, I'm going off the brain box here. And the whole, like console room disintegrated and all that. That was probably done in a green room or a green scene room. That was probably not done on the set when they are all running out and the whole thing disintegrates behind them. And that could be exactly what they've done here. Is they've decided that instead of doing the whole blow up the TARDIS thing on the actual set, they just went into a green room to film the regeneration. And that's all it was. I don't know why everybody's just assuming off the bat that, well, because we left that one set, well, we must not be doing the regen scene there. They could do the regen scene in a green scene room, do all the explosions, mind-boggling stuff they want, and meanwhile they've already just started dismantling the main set, because after that day they were wrapped for good. That's all there probably was to it. Like I said, I'll believe it when I see it, but it's like, I don't know why it's such a big deal, because when you go back and watch the classic series, the Doctor regenerated outside of the TARDIS quite a few times. And I don't know why they made that such a big thing in the new series that, every time, the Doctor regenerates, it has to be in a TARDIS set. Except for, of course, Matt Smith, who was supposed to be different. Matt Smith was supposed to have regenerated on the tower. Okay? And, at the end of his episode, Time of the Doctor. That was where it was supposed to happen. And when Clara came back into the TARDIS, that was supposed to be Capaldi in Matt Smith's clothes coming up the stairs. And they did, Moffat decided to put that scene on the end of it and all that, because he didn't want Matt Smith going out as a shouty old man. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, yeah, you're right. Even the Master did. And I don't know why it became such a big deal. But because if you go back and watch classic series, just off the bat, let's see, first Doctor was in, second Doctor got forced, third Doctor was just outside of, you see what I mean? And then fourth Doctor was, at, Pharaoh's Project outside. Fifth Doctor was in, sixth Doctor hit his head on the console. Seventh Doctor was definitely out, regenerated in a morgue. Yeah, the whole Watcher concept, like I said, I think that came out of because of what they did with Cho-Ji and Campo and all that stuff. I think that's what it was alluding to. Well, the thing was, they did all that. They wrapped on October 13th of last year, and the new Doctor hadn't been, brought to the set or anything, because they're definitely keeping a lid on everything. But some more interesting stuff I'm hearing is the whole thing with Bad Wolf and all that was already on the table before Series 13 started. And that's the interesting bit I'm reading about there. But of course, and that's why Chibnall had been looking for a replacement, because RTD wanted back in, at least this is one story I'm hearing, because he sees what's going on with the BBC. It had nothing to do with the low ratings. It had nothing to do with everybody hates Chibnall. And you see, that's the thing. The division in the fandom, that's all a fallacy. It's called creating an audience. You've got these guys who have to create this big conflict and make people think that there's this whole, war going on, in order to see, I'm backing the side that, you guys back and blah, 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 so you'll come back to their videos. And that's exactly what it is. It's a load of malarkey. It's propaganda, pure and simple. Don't let yourself fall for that stuff, okay? We'll talk more about it on a future thing, okay? Well, folks, I have got to get running because I got about 2 minutes to get in the door. I want to thank you all for joining me this morning. You folks who did. I hope you're all enjoying these because, like I said, I've been enjoying doing them because this way I can get back in touch with you all. Because sometimes I get a little down and I just don't want to shoot a video. I just don't even want to click the go live button on the thing on the YouTube and when I'm at home. Because like I said, I got to do a big adjustment here on some things, and I just want you all to, while you're out there today, be kind, be careful, enjoy your day, and if you start feeling down, just remember, it's the little victories that count. Don't take for granted, all the little victories you've accomplished today. Because there's people out there in the world who are not like me, sitting here in a nice warm car, having just had a breakfast of oats. Just think about that. Think about how lucky you are to have the things you do have. Take care, everyone, and I'll hope to see you all in the future.